Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the RA Show. If you're new to the show, this is a weekly episode, a show that we have on Sunday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Mountain, 8 o'clock Central, and 6 o'clock Pacific. Tonight we have Steve, Raiken Profit, as our guest, and as usual I have Mr. Cool Toes as my co-host. So with that said, uh, we are talking about clothing tonight. We know Steve's gotten away from clothing, but that will be covered a little bit. And I'm sure he still has knowledge in the clothing area, so we're going to use that too. And with that, Steve, why don't you introduce yourself to people that may not know about you? You have, what, 10,000 subscribers already?
Yeah,
Like
thanks for
20,000.
having. Yeah, who knows? I stopped keeping track, but yeah, thanks again for having me on, Chris. Definitely a privilege to be on. I appreciate it. Hopefully, we can help some people out and add some value. Sean, what's going on, my man? Cool Toads. I've been following you for a while, both you guys. But yeah, I mean, I started reselling over 2 years ago, man. I was working at a restaurant called the Cracker Barrel, 9 to 5, just working and waiting on tables and doing that type of thing. I hated it. I wanted something more. And it came to the point where, I needed to find something more, something better, something more substantial. And I ended up coming across the reselling community, which was a lot smaller over 2 years ago, really small. And got started watching guys like the Urban Diggers, the Bonafide Hustler. Really, the list goes on and on, a lot of different people. And ended up getting into Craigslist at first, flipping bikes, moved into clothes, moved into Amazon. Now I've moved into things like Kindle publishing and products and a lot of other different types of marketing things as well. Always looking to grow and learn more. But yeah, that's a little background. But yeah, again, thanks for having me on, and let's help some people out.
Thanks for coming. Well, my first guess is well, you basically already answered that one though. But how long have you been a reseller and what got you started? So you basically already answered the first question. So I'll go on to the next one, which is let's see. Oh yeah, my what? Actually, you have the question if you want to read it yourself.
Holy starstruck Batman, what the
No,
heck?
no,
You're alright, man?
I didn't read it in pen tonight. We used pencil, so it's kind of a little harder for me to read. Especially with
Uh,
writing.
That's
Slow
awesome.
down, man, you're stumbling.
I love it.
Do you do this solo or do you have help?
There you
So, did you ask me if I do it myself or do I have help?
Yes.
Yeah, so when I first on my own, I was still living at home. My folks, literally, I was in my living room with a hanging mannequin. So I literally, thanks mom and dad for not killing me a few years ago, but I literally put a nail through the wall and had a hanging mannequin in the living room, taking pictures by myself, and that's what I was doing for over a year. And as time went on and I grew and my inventory went over 1,000 at one point, just clothing on eBay alone. I ended up getting an office, and I had a few people working for me. I had people taking pictures, listing the items, doing the measurements, steaming out the clothes. I never had anybody really helping me pick or anything like that, and I did that for a while. So right now, just to kind of bring you up to date, I don't have the office anymore. I made a video talking about this a while ago, and the reason is because I kind of grew into other things, and I didn't really need the office. But I highly recommend that if you're really trying to push to that volume and you're really trying to grow. I mean, you only have so much time in a day, right? Everybody has 24 hours in a day. There's only so much time you could go picking. There's only so much time you could, list your items and take pictures and stuff. So I had two. That's what I grew to. But right now, I don't have anybody in the physical form. For different businesses, I do have over 15 virtual assistants, employees overseas, and probably about 4 or 5 that are actually in the United States.
Okay. And as you've already covered, kind of, you branched out in the. How far did you get in reselling, and has anything changed since then? I don't.
Yeah, so Yeah, so currently, right now, I am still reselling on a part-time basis, mostly Craigslist, local stuff, and some Amazon FBA stuff that I come across, but very part-time basis. Right now, my eBay store has been closed, and I haven't been selling clothing on eBay for a while. And the main reason is because it's a very active form of income. And I had a few other things that I was really focusing my time on, like Kindle publishing and the Green Room and a few other different business ventures that I was in. So currently, I'm not selling on eBay. I still have all my inventory. I still have my storage locker. I actually have two of them. I ended up purchasing another one, which I am going to be getting started back up again soon. I've got a few things planned, but I still have all my inventory. I still got all my stuff. Believer in leveraging your time and going after the highest leverage activities. So Kindle publishing and publishing in general has been something that's been very lucrative for me over the last 6 months. Over a year, but really the last 6 months. So that's really what I've been focusing my time on. But I'm going to be getting it to a point where I'm going to be pushing it to the side, and it's going to be more of a passive thing. And then I'm going to be able to get into some of the other things like selling on eBay and hitting the garage sales more and getting into some of the other things that I'm more passionate about and really enjoy.
Oh, speaking about your books, then I'll go after this. Sean, we'll go into your shout out for how many books have you written, and are they still available?
Yeah, so I've got 3 books under my own name that I've written personally. 101 Killer Clothing Brands, which is a guide, 102 Killer Clothing Brands, and I have a program called Blazing Profits. They're all geared towards helping people sell clothing on eBay. So I've got 3. I've also done another book with the Green Room called 100 Amazing Items to Resell, which was a Green Room collaboration book. And I've also created another product with Cody Hawk, which pertains to some other stuff, but it's Kindle publishing. So I've got about 5 things.
All right. John, you want to do a couple of shout outs?
Sure. I don't know how to spell apparently. Well, there we go. We have Joseph Hare, who was first this time. Welcome. What's up, man? Angie Martin, Texas Gal Treasures. Oh, somebody's yelling outside. We got Michael Baumberger, Dana Bostic, which is OG Picker. And Michael Baumberger is actually Texas, excuse me, Texas Auction Picker. And then we got the Main Picker, Turtle Trader, Holland Hobbies. What's up, Matt? How's it going, man? Black Eyed Joe, all the way from Australia. Karen Petrosovitz, what's up? Things are well. And Brian Arbage Albatross. I can say your name right. All right, that's a good thing. And there we go. Phoenix Picker Janet, what's up? How's it going? Dustin Souders is back. What's up? Welcome back, man. And that's all that's in the chat. I'm sure there's other people out there, but that's all that's in the chat.
Well, I saw while you were doing a comment from Margaret, Texas Gal Treasures. She said that Steve gave her a call when she started out her YouTube channel to give her moral support. So
awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's doing well now too. I know she's put out quite a few videos, so it's sometimes you just need a little encouragement, because I remember when I first started my channel, I mean, I was so nervous. I mean, I remember shooting a video 20, 30, 40 times, like, oh, my hair doesn't look good, oh, the hat's wrong, or like I said this word weird, and it's like no one really cares, but I mean, a little encouragement's good. So I'm always there to support the people that are looking to start a channel.
yeah, well, she was our Mother's Day guest.
Awesome.
She was having a little fun with all the drawings on her faces and everything else.
That's great.
It was fun.
Okay, and what was your best sale and your worst sale before you got out of reselling?
Well, my worst sale, I mean, who knows? I delete that out of my brain. No. My best sale, man, probably one of my best sales, and, there might be some that I forgot, but one of my best sales was probably when I had first gotten started. I was selling bicycles, and at the time, I was, like, literally, like, obsessed with the Bonafide Hustler. Like, I wasn't posting videos. Like I was following him. Like this guy is freaking awesome, man. Like he's selling bicycles on Craigslist. He's buying them from garage sales. I'm like, this is crazy. So I was like on this like. I was like on a frenzy, just going to garage sales looking for bikes, and I ended up coming across. This is one of my first few deals. Two Cannondale bicycles, and if you're not familiar with that brand, I mean it's a super brand. It's like a BMW brand almost for like if you were to compare cars and bicycles. Like it's an awesome brand. And I came across two bikes. One of them was a mountain bike. One of them was kind of like a hybrid women's bicycle, and I paid. I don't know if I paid 25 or 50 or 60 each. It was something around there, between 25 and 60 bucks I paid for each one. And within a few days, I had sold one of them for about 300 or 400, and another one was about 300, somewhere around there. So I mean, I literally turned 100 bucks into like 600 or 700 bucks overnight, and I was hooked. I was like, holy mackerel! Like this is real. Like it's it's one thing to watch a video or see a Facebook post of someone doing something or flipping something, but actually doing it yourself and actually having that that cash in your pocket. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is real. Like this could happen. And that's probably one of my best ones. My worst ones, I mean, honestly, I don't really remember. I mean, I know I've made some big mistakes with clothing when I first started buying counterfeit items and purchasing items with flaws. I mean, I remember there was one day, it was a Savers half off sale, and I was new, and I had bought like probably about 15 or 20 things that had flaws I had to throw away. I mean, it was like $100 down the drain, and I had traveled so far away I didn't want to go back and return them to each store and whatnot. But probably flawed items and counterfeit items were probably some of my biggest mistakes when I first got started. That costed me some good money.
Okay.
I can relate. Unfortunately.
You kind of covered this question already, but I'm going to kind of mix it up. The number 6 question is about your clothing branching out. You said you started bikes, and then you were more famous for clothing. Did you try other things on eBay to say, okay, I'm knowledgeable here, or did you just stay with clothing business?
Yeah, man, so I branched out. I mean, you know how it is. When you're watching these videos on YouTube and you're interacting with other pickers and resellers, you learn different things. I mean, I was learning about blenders and electronics and random things, household items. So, I mean, I flipped a lot of stuff, stereo equipment, various items. So, I've definitely branched out into other items. I had just found, honestly, with clothing, I liked it the most because it was so abundant. And one problem that I found was traveling from one thrift store to another. Sometimes it was hard to find like really good electronics. It was hard to find bicycles. It was hard to find profitable household items and stuff like that. But one thing I noticed is there was always clothing at the thrift stores. I mean, seriously, if you walk into a thrift store, what are the two most abundant things? Usually books and usually clothing. So I knew I wanted to go after something that was abundant and I didn't have trouble always sourcing and finding. So, I mean, I branched out, but I liked clothes just due to the abundance.
And if there's no questions in the chat.
There is now. Texas Gal Treasure wants to know if you're going to be in Austin in July.
Hell yeah, girl, I'm going to be in Austin. I can't wait. I'm going to be there, I think it's the 7th to the 13th. So all the green room guys are meeting up over there. Cody Hawk, college picker, obviously the Bonafide, he lives there. Young, retro aficionado, he's coming in from California. So we've got some really cool things planned for green room members and for the public, open forum. So we got some cool stuff. So if you guys are in the area or you're going to be around there, hit me up and we'll definitely have some fun for sure. Cause some trouble.
I was gonna try to get out there this year, but that's the day that my wife and I are renewing our vows. So
no excuses, man. You got to be there. No, I'm just kidding.
You just sound like an ex-boss I had. Yeah, it was a fumigation company, pest control, and this couple decided to get their house fumigated, and then as that was happening, they went to Argentina, and there was a problem with the fumigation, and they left no contact number, no emergency contact, and I'm like, I cannot get a hold of them. They're in Argentina. He's like, no excuses, get a hold of them. Alrighty then, buddy. You just get off your high horse there. You go do it.
Get a
But yeah.
one-way ticket to Argentina and hunt them down.
Oh, exactly. Now you guys owe me money. Yeah. Craziness.
We have a question here from Turtle Trader. He wants to know basically what is up with the Green Room Hangout show.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit about this beforehand, Chris and I, and pretty much we had taken a little break to reinvent ourselves, switch some things up, and really come back fresh. There's a lot of shows out there, and there's a lot of content being created, a lot of the same stuff, and there's nothing wrong with it, but we wanted to come with something fresh, come at a different angle, and really be able to offer value to the people who watch the show. So we had taken some time off, but we got some really cool plans in the mix, and I think it's really going to be something cool that people look forward to and are excited to watch.
Okay. Anything else, Sean, before I go to my next one?
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing in there.
What advice
Sorry.
to the newbie that is like starting my show for the first time, or that they need to grow, not necessarily fast, but at a good pace?
So it's kind of hard to hear you, so I apologize. You're asking me what is some advice for someone who's brand new, who wants to grow their business? They're already in business?
Or they might even just found us for the first time, like for whatever reason they put our show or some type of sports show, and my show comes up and they all of a sudden watch us and they have to see you. What can you give them for an advice to think all of a sudden say, this would be something I want to look into?
Yeah, I mean, so if you want to grow your business, I mean, the biggest thing is you got to take action, right? You've got to figure out what you need to do to get to the next level, and you've got to take action on a daily basis. It's awesome to educate yourself. It's awesome to, watch these shows. It's awesome to learn and read books and all that. But honestly, at the end of the day, if you want to make more money, you are going to have to take action in your business, and you're going to have to work smart. A lot of people, they're doing things in their business that aren't really high leverage activities, and they're wondering why their business doesn't grow. So definitely make sure you're taking action on a daily basis on the highest leverage things that you can do. And also, if you can, try to get around people who have already accomplished what you want to accomplish. So say you're making maybe an extra $500 a month in your eBay business or your Amazon business, and you want to get up to the $2,000 mark. What you want to do is you want to find people who are already doing that. And this is straight from Tony Robbins. Like, this is Tony Robbins' advice right here. Model success. Because honestly, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to figure things out on our own. I mean, it's good to come at it with our own angle and kind of be creative in terms of who we are, because we're all different as people and we all have a different little spice that we could bring to the table. But honestly, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Figure out what others are doing, who are getting the results that you want, and just start doing it and take action on a daily basis.
We have a comment here from Holland Hobbins. Says, Steve, I won't be able to make it. The rap battle will have to be rescheduled.
Aw, come on, Matt. I've been writing mad bars waiting for that battle to go down.
Okay.
Maybe another time.
Where did you get your knowledge about clothing?
Yeah, so when I had first gotten started, like I said, this was, man, time flies by. It's like two and a half years now, maybe more. There wasn't really a lot of people on YouTube talking about clothing, and I think that's what really allowed my channel to grow so fast, was because I was kind of, I don't want to say the pioneer because there was other people way before me, but I was kind of like the person who really came out and like brought it out of the closet and started talking about clothing. So there wasn't a lot of people, honestly, coming out of the closet to make some profits. But the person who had really inspired me at first was, what's her name? Autumn's Upscale Resale.
Oh, yeah.
She had some videos going on. I don't know if she still has videos up on her channel, but she's the one who initially inspired me with clothing, and she had some really cool. Yeah, she had some really cool videos, and I remember specifically the first two brands that I learned about was the Territory Ahead in Pendleton. And I ran out of my house and I went to every thrift store within like a 20-mile radius looking for only the Territory Ahead in Pendleton. That's it. If I didn't find it, I skipped over everything else. And at the time, I didn't have a smartphone. And for the longest time, when I first started selling, I didn't have a smartphone, believe it or not. So I wasn't able to look things up on my phone. I wasn't able to, research things. There wasn't any YouTube videos going on. But I learned a lot from Autumn's Upscale Resale. As time progressed and I got more into selling clothing, I learned a lot from Ronnie over at Hart's Motor Company, Hart's Pickers, and he's a really good guy. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to clothing. He's been killing it. I know that's what he does full time. So if anyone's looking to learn, definitely check him out on YouTube. Just an awesome guy, great content. But those are two people that really stand out the most to me when it comes to education and clothing.
Total Trader is doing a follow-up question about the green room. I want to know when is the relaunch of the green room?
It's going to be very, very soon. Within the next few weeks, if not sooner than that. So.
Well, hopefully before your meetup, so that way you can at least promote it.
Yeah, we've got some things that are going to be some really big things that are going to be launching a little after, but we're hoping to get the shows back up.
Okay, and besides Ronnie and Autumn, did you or do you have a mentor when you had issues to go at least say, I need to talk this out?
I mean, me and Ronnie talked a lot. I mean, I guess he was someone I looked up to with the clothing. But honestly, like specifically for clothing, I wouldn't say I had a mentor. I hustled a lot and I educated myself a lot. My mentor was the eBay sold listings. That's what it was. I spent a lot of time in the sold listings, and I spent a lot of time in the completed listings, getting a feel for sell-through rates and what was selling, what wasn't selling, what was popular. Another one of my mentors was the thrift store. I spent a lot of time in the thrift store, just figuring out what works, what doesn't work, experimenting. But yeah, I mean, if you want to learn clothing, one of the best things you can do to educate yourself is just to spend a lot of time in the sold listings, completed listings, and that's a thrift store experiment.
Anything going on in the comments, Sean?
All I said, I would go into a thrift store just looking for Pendletons only. If none, then on to the next. Laugh out loud. Like 5 minutes per store. Bring back memories.
You just feel each item. If you don't feel the wool, then you just pass it.
Okay. And I guess you're still trying to get back into eBay, so I'm assuming you have enjoyed reselling.
Yeah, definitely enjoyed reselling. With my personality, though, I do get bored easily at times, and I like to switch things up. So, I'm sure it'll happen with Kindle publishing. It's happened with YouTube. It's happened with eBay. It's happened with Amazon, with Craigslist. I hit it hard and I master it, or I do well with it, and I move on to other things. But the cool thing about being an entrepreneur and running multiple businesses, once you learn something, you've got it. You've got that muscle memory, and it's a skill that you're always going to have in your brain. You're always going to have it in your toolbox, and you can always take it out when you need it. So that's the really cool thing about mastering different things. But one thing I want to touch on real quick is, while I have done a lot of different things from Craigslist to eBay to Amazon to publishing to a lot of different types of stuff, one thing I want to say is learn one thing at a time. Like, I don't just jump from one thing to another really quick. Like, I don't chase after the next shiny object. I'll spend time with one thing and I'll learn it and I'll make mistakes and I'll master it, or at least get to know it really well and be able to make money from it before moving on to something else. So don't just jump from, because there's so many people out there talking about private label and wholesale and eBay and clothing and Kindle publishing, and you can make money with this and this and that. Slow down, choose one thing, doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's Craigslist or publishing or real estate. Choose something, learn it, educate yourself, make mistakes, and get good at it before you move on to the next thing. So that's my little rant.
I totally am with you on that. That's kind of what happened with Amazon for me. I kind of, went after the shiny object and didn't fully learn it. So, I was kind of just going with it, and then, realized I didn't really like the retail arbitrage part, or even online arbitrage, really, even though I'm online. So, it was like what am I doing? Okay, I have all these one-offs now. I'll just send them in, and so I wasn't really fully into it. So it's kind of, when you're not into something, you really don't care much about it, and
Yeah.
you just
I
whatever
could
happens happens. So
I could relate with you, man, with retail arbitrage. I mean, there's people killing it out there. There's people like, I remember Dallas Moore when he had been first starting with it. He was putting up serious numbers, and he inspired me to get into it. And I never really enjoyed it. I never could really get into it, and maybe it had to do with just my personality or what I liked to do or my hustle style, but it just never really resonated with me. And I think that's one thing we all need to realize as well is, all because somebody's killing it with private label or wholesale or publishing doesn't mean that you, at the same time, you want to make sure that you enjoy it and it's something that you can see yourself doing. If you don't see yourself writing books and making videos and doing stuff like that, then maybe product launches and marketing and different things like that isn't for you. But maybe you like the adventure and you like the thrill and you love taking pictures and you love being on a computer. Well, maybe eBay's for you, right? Maybe Amazon is for you, scanning books. I mean, we're all different. You got to find what you like and what really resonates with you the most.
yeah.
Okay. We have a couple of questions here from another one from Total Trader. Do you measure neck size on T-shirts in your eBay listing?
No, I never did it. Nope.
Okay.
I usually just did the pit to pit, the sleeves. I would do some other measurements for the suits and stuff, the waist, the shoulders, obviously the inseam and the waist for the pants and stuff. Did the neck. I know some dress shirts have the neck size on it, but I never really messed with that.
Okay. This wasn't on my list, but it kind of came up spectacular too. As you know, I did buy your Blazing Profits program, and I went out and we actually found two. Well, actually, we found three. We finally sold one of them. Suit jacket tops. One of them was the Heart Schaefer marks,
Mm-hmm.
and I think. How long do you think they should take to sell if you're doing it right? I've had it for almost almost say almost a year now.
Yeah.
I got I've had it from $40 and up and down. I've done sales. I've done everything that you can go on with it. And I'm getting over. I have it good till canceled. I've had like over 300 views. So I don't know what's.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the suits, they're definitely more long tail. Even the blazers and sport coats, a lot of them are long tail, take some time to sell. And that's why it's really important, especially with those items, to really optimize the listing. Take really good pictures, add a lot of measurements, make sure you have a clean description, a really nice title. The thing is with eBay, it kind of sucks, is with eBay when it's I can't prove it. But when an item sits for more than 3, 4, 5, 6 months and it gets a lot of views and doesn't sell, their algorithm, I don't know what it does, but it almost hides your listings. It pushes them down. I've noticed that. So my recommendation is try to blow it out sooner. Like if these items that aren't selling, I mean, if you don't sell them within the first 3 to 6 months, a lot of times they don't sell sometimes. I don't know. I've noticed a difference with eBay. And again, the biggest thing I could say is really try to separate yourself from the crowd with pictures, with information, description, free shipping, and each one's going to sell differently depending on the brand and the color scheme. Certain things are more popular than others. But that's the thing with suits. I mean, sometimes you have to chalk it up as a loss. Some items don't sell. It's just the way it is. But if you could hit a home run or at least score on 5 or 6 out of 10 of them and have enough profit baked in, a lot of times, especially with the suits, it can make it worth your time. But as time goes on, you'll get more picky and choosy in terms of what you're going to spend your money on. And another thing, too, is, especially with the suits, I like to pick those up on the half-off days. I don't know about you, Chris and Sean. Do you have a lot of half-off sales in your area or discounts?
I don't go out that often because of my situation. I don't get unless I make sales. I don't usually go back out, or I somehow get money somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But my the suits that we got, we paid $2.50 each. The suit.
How much? $1.50?
$2.50.
Wow. Yeah, you ain't gonna get it much cheaper than that. I mean, so even then, man, if you had, say you bought 10 suits at 250 each, what is that? 25 bucks? 25 bucks for 10 of them?
Well, a little under 22.50.
22.50. So, I mean, imagine if you scored just one of them, man, right? For 100 bucks. I mean, you're already 22.50, man. You score one out of those 10, man. You sell for 100 bucks. You're already in the green. Imagine if you sold 3 or 4 or 5 of them, man. I mean, you don't have to score on each one of them, and I talked about that in the book as well. I mean, you don't have to sell each and every one when you've got such high profit margins with these items. So take that into consideration as well.
The first one we sold, we sold for like 35 bucks. So we actually got all our money
Yep.
back anyway. So
Exactly.
for 3 of them, we only paid $750 total. So
And I wonder what they paid for it, the person who donated it.
I don't
Two,
know.
$300, $400, $500 for the one item, so it's pretty cool, man.
And we have a question here from Jordan Witt, which I think he's a new viewer. If he is, welcome to the show. Hope you stick around. Do you find that larger sizes, even in the popular brands, sell best?
Yeah, the larger sizes always do best, even for the non-brands, for the non-popular ones. Back to suits again, man. Even like, there's a brand called Alexander Lloyd. Have you heard of it, guys?
I
I
haven't.
have actually.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I don't know if it's a lower end brand, but I always perceived it as a lower end brand. I always see them sitting at the thrift stores. Nobody picks them up. The thing is, when it comes to that brand, they're always in really big sizes, 50, 56 regular or 60 regular or 64 regular. I mean, they make huge items in that brand, and not a lot of people know about it. And it always seemed to sell well. Even just the jackets themselves for 30, 40, 50 bucks. If you could get the suit a little more. Again, it's not like a home run brand, but just an example of a brand that not a lot of people know about. At least I didn't, and it seemed like a lot of others in my local area didn't know about it. That sold for good money, and it was pretty consistent. So, the bigger items definitely sell well. Even like Tommy Hilfiger and Abercrombie and Fitch and American Eagle, and if you could find these things in big sizes, the folks that are bigger, they have a hard time finding these, right? And there's a demand for them. So, hey, man.
That's why a lot of us big folks wear T-shirts of all the same colors, because when you find them, man, you gotta buy like 5 of them.
Find them and you keep them.
Yeah.
And here's another question from Turtle Trader. He says, on the Schaefer Marks jackets, if it has a regional Belk or local tailor shop from a small town, is there a market?
Yeah, I mean, so in my opinion, I always try to avoid the ones that had like the random embroideries on it. Again, depending on how popular it is or just the market. I mean, if it's something that people are looking for, then yeah, you could sell it. But I've always tried to stay away from those types of things just because it's already a long tail as it is with the suits, and you have to find a special person with the special size. I mean, think about it. If you're going to buy a suit on eBay, I mean, the shoulders got to be right, the sleeves got to be right, the waist has to be right, the chest has to be right. So you already have to find a really special person just to find that. Now you're going to throw into the mix a random embroidery or a logo or something that's just native to a certain location. You're really taking a lot of the chances out of it. You've got to find a really, really, really niche person. So
That's tough to do.
not that it can't be done, but
Got anywhere shout outs for new people?
We have Steve Groggins is in that chat. Said some Goodwills are selling online now, which I think one of mine is a little bit too. There was.
yeah, they're definitely starting to
But
sell
we're-
online.
Yeah, we're just all talking about, or most of them are talking about Texas Gal Treasures jumping out of cakes and stuff now. Being a dancing Tootsie Roll.
Do you guys have any Salvation Armies in your area?
We
I have
have
one.
what's called ARC, which I think it's a branch of the Salvation Army.
Man, that was always like my favorite thrift store to go to, like one of my favorites, because the thing with Salvation Army, if you guys are familiar, they're kind of like a lower end thrift store. Like they've always been like really in touch with the people, and they've always kept the prices really low, and you can kind of negotiate. But the reason I bring this up is because, man, they've been getting funny lately. They've been getting really funny lately in my area, and their prices have literally doubled overnight. They're going really corporate now. They're building new buildings. I just didn't know if any of you guys had them around you because, yeah, they're getting a little crazy in my area.
Mine has always been too expensive. And they only have one day, and it's only 40% off instead of 50%. And
Yeah.
items that they choose, like clothes and melts. Not even books. I was surprised, not even books. But it was clothes, like something kind of glass that they
Yep.
have in there. But yeah, it was it.
They're doing this new thing over here, which is because I was scanning some books the other day with my mother. She's big into Amazon. I actually got my mother into selling on Amazon over a year ago, and she's been doing consistently over $1,000 a month each and every month, just selling books on very minimal part-time basis. So shout out to you, Mom. You're kicking butt. But funny story is, if you see this painting right here, do you see it? You see that painting?
Yep.
I went into because finally I decided to put some paintings on my walls after about 6 months of moving into this place. So I found a really cool painting at Salvation Army, and it was $29.99 when I went in there, right? And I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know if this painting's gonna look good. I'm like, I don't know. And ended up meeting up with my girlfriend, and we went out to the Christmas tree shop looking for some paintings and stuff. And I was like, wow, the paintings are actually really expensive out in the stores and stuff. I'm like, I should go back to the thrift store and get it. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to call the Salvation Army up real quick and ask them if they still have it, because it's a really nice painting. And I called them up and I said, hey, how you doing? I was in there earlier about an hour ago. You had that really big painting with the cool frame around it for $29.99. Do you still have it? And the lady goes, yeah, I still have it, but it's $59.99 now. And I said, what do you mean it's $59.99? It was just $29.99. This all goes back to Salvation Army getting funny. And I said, I was just in there 2 hours ago. How is it doubled? And she says, well, we have the right to raise the prices whenever we feel like it. And I said, is there a reason why? And she says, nope, I'm just raising the prices. Maybe she doesn't know who I am. I rarely go into this place. It's on the other side of town. They usually don't have a lot of good stuff. So I went in there and I started talking to her and kind of threw a little fit and got it down to $35. I actually had to pay more, but just an example, it's like some of these thrift stores are getting funny lately.
Well, she might have figured
So she thought because
I was going to say that maybe if you called and showed more interest instead of just buying it out when you had it. Okay, time to
maybe, but it was crazy. I wasn't even trying to resell it. I just wanted to put it out up in my condo, but it was just crazy. The Salvation Armies have been doubling in price. They're getting a little weird over there. So, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Maybe it's just the local area. Maybe if I had, Cool Toad's hat on while I was there, it would
I don't know about
calm
that.
the situation down a little bit.
That might get you the boys in blue.
Okay, like I said earlier, for the thing that might catch us later, or brand new, what type of tools do you think someone would need for doing clothing at a thrift store? Or
Yeah. So besides Cool Toad's hat, I would say the number one thing that you're going to need is a smartphone. That saved my so many times in the thrift store. And no matter how much you think you know about clothing, there's always something else that you don't know, a brand. Or when it comes to clothing, it's like, you can know a brand is good, right? Maybe you want to buy a Ralph Lauren shirt, but different sizes, different colors, different schemes, different logos, different things are going to bring a different price. So that alone is a reason why you need a smartphone with clothing, just to check the sold listings. I'm always referring to them when I'm out there sourcing for clothing. Besides a smartphone, I would say get a really good camera. And by really good, I mean you don't have to spend more than $100. You could get a decent Canon camera. I use a Power Shot, Elf Power Shot. It's a 320 or something like that. They also have like a 110 version that's like around $100. Get a good camera, get a smartphone. If you're gonna do clothing, get a steamer, right? You could get them really cheap at a garage sale for like $5. right? They're all over the place at garage sales if you just keep your eye open for them. So definitely recommend that. Get a mannequin, right? You can either get a dress form mannequin, which is like the physical, like 3D mannequin, like it's like standing upright. It's got like the nice base, wooden base, or you can get, if you're just getting a hanging mannequin, which is going to cost like 15 or 20 bucks, maybe a little more, give or take. And that's kind of like a mold of a body that you could just hang up on a screw or a nail or on a whatever. But those are definitely some important things that I would definitely recommend. Get a listing template as well, right? Have a template that you can reference when you're listing your item, and that's free. You just got to create your own on Microsoft Word. Have the middle portion, the measurements. You should have it out and ready to go, so when you list your items, you stay organized. Can't say how many times I've screwed things up by being unorganized.
I will say that you shared that one time yours way back.
Yeah.
And I started doing clothing, and I used your template thing. It really did. It helped a lot. So I can vouch that one.
See after. I'll try to see Chris after the show. I'll try to find my listing template and give it to you. And if you want to put it in the description area, I'll try to see if I can get something for you. So
All right, thanks.
for your viewers. Yeah, absolutely.
Turtle Trader has another question. He says, one last question. No more than one last question, Trader. As long as you have questions, we'll not take them until the show's over. How do you prepare silk ties for sale? I know you are more selective, but for newbies, thanks are profits.
Did you say silk ties?
Yes.
How do you prepare silk ties?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what preparation you really need to do. I mean, is he talking about how to take pictures of it, or, I mean, in terms of preparation, I mean,
They need to be cleaned or something, like maybe there's a small stain or something.
yeah, I mean, so I never really cleaned the ties or anything like that. A lot of times, if it had a stain or had an issue, I would just pass on it because a lot of them aren't going to sell for much to begin with. But you could, take a steamer to it, make it look nice, and get the wrinkles out of it and whatnot. But the cool thing with ties, and I've sold quite a few of them, never really got into them hardcore. But the cool thing with ties are they're really easy, right? You could just bundle it up and have a main picture and just spread it out, and you could bang out a listing and a picture really quick. Definitely not an expert at all when it comes to ties, but not much of preparation for ties. I mean, just lay it out and take some pictures and do a few measurements, and you're good to go. I used to do the length and the width down at the bottom. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, the verbiage, but I would just get the length and thickness and just write a quick listing. They're really easy. That's what I like about ties, and they're easy to ship too, right? It's like $1 and change to ship a tie, and not a lot of returns with them that I found. So that's a cool little area of reselling in terms of clothing that not a lot of people talk about. I noticed that not a lot of people are attacking those areas in the thrift store, so I think it's definitely a good opportunity. And if you don't have a lot of storage and you have a weigh and pay, a Goodwill weigh and pay around your area, that's a great idea right there.
A lot of them are slow sellers, though. I've been told
real.
and I've experienced. So you're gonna want a lot of them up there.
but again, I mean, if you got to weigh and pay these for 20-30 cents each, and again, if you you get $bucks, you sell one for 20. I mean, who cares? They're quick.
No doubt.
So, but yeah, they are slow sellers though. Some of them.
Andy Martin wanted to thank you for the template information.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Aaron Petrovich wants to know, where was the furthest from home you've ever pet? And I can safely say I think Austin might be the furthest, unless you went to California or somewhere.
I actually spent a few weekends down in the Philippines picking. No, I'm just kidding. The furthest I've gone picking, I know I went in Austin, Texas. I did a little over there, but I mean, just like, let's just pretend that never happened. I mean, I've gone on a few trips with my mother, and we like to bond that way too. It's fun a lot by going to thrift stores and picking and reselling. She does her books, and she does her board games and video games and arbitrage, and I do my clothing and different other things out at the thrift store. But yeah, I mean that's a tough one.
I know you did one video of you going up to Massachusetts once.
Oh yeah, so I'm trying to think of the farthest one though. I mean, Massachusetts, New Jersey, South Carolina. So nothing too crazy though.
Okay, we have
Gotta
another.
get down into Florida.
I did go picking over there too.
We have a question from Alvin Smith. Raiken, if you found a stain or underflaw, did you still try to sell it, or did you donate it? I'm assuming he's talking about the ties again.
Oh, well, I mean, if it was with the ties, I mean, I would probably just donate it back unless it was something that was like real rare. But in general, with flawed items, if it's not something that I felt like I could sell for at least 25 or 30 bucks, especially when I got more towards the later stages of selling clothing. When I was new, I mean, I'd sell anything, but you'll notice that the more you sell and the more advanced you become, you kind of lift your bottom line up, so you're not wanting for 10 bucks or 12 bucks. So again, if I came across like a really nice Italian brand or a something that was worth maybe $200 in good condition, if it had a flaw, I mean, maybe I could sell it for 50 or 100. It would still be worth it. So it really depends on the specific item and what it would sell for and what your time is worth, right? You guys have got to weigh out what your time is worth. And this goes back to what I was talking about before, highest leverage activities, kind of choosing what you spend your time on. Don't waste all day long listing items that only sell for 5 or 10 bucks, because I mean, seriously, how big can you really grow? How much can you really make? What's your time worth? Is your time worth 5 bucks an hour, 10 bucks an hour, 20 bucks an hour? What is it? Once you figure out what your time's worth, then you can really narrow down and laser in on what I'm going to do with my time.
Yep,
Okay.
good idea. Good advice.
Do you have an inventory system and set up, and what pitfalls have you learned to avoid?
Yeah, so the best advice I could say for an inventory system is to have one. Just have one. So many times, and myself included, when I first got started, I thought I had one, and my inventory system was loading up my entire closet and going through each individual item until I came across it. As time went on and I got my inventory to over 300 items or more than that, I realized I had to come up with a system for my clothing. So pretty much what I did was I created a tiered system. So for example, let's just say that you have a clothing rack that has 2 tiers, and on each tier there's 2 sections. So altogether there's 4 sections. I would label each section with a letter, so I'd have A, B, C, and D, and then I'd have a number associated with each. So maybe A through 50, B through 50, C through 50, D through 50. And what I would do is I would take each clothing hanger and I would associate a letter and a number onto it, and I would put it in its appropriate place. So I would have a bunch of clothing with letters and numbers associated to it, all in an organized fashion. I would then, when I list an item, say I have an item in the clothing hanger, I would take a piece of masking tape and I would kind of hang it on like that, so it would be hanging off the side. So say it was A50. In my actual clothing listing, I would write inventory number A50, and I'd have it in there, and I'd go hang it back up on my clothing rack, and when it sold, I'd write down all the inventory numbers that sold for the day, and I'd go into my, which I think I was up to like P or Q. I had so many racks going on. I would go find the appropriate letter and number, and instead of me taking 2 hours to find 20 items, it took me 5 minutes. So that was my system. I know a lot of other people have different systems with bins, or they kind of organize it in terms of brands. I know Ronnie from Hearts Pickers, he organizes his stuff in terms of I think it's like brands, something like that. But at the end of the day, have a system. That's it. Doesn't have to be mine or yours or anybody's. Just create one that you can find the items.
We have a question from Dustin Saunders. He got Raiken, what are your one or two items of clothing that you used to sell that most people do not sell?
Is he asking for like a brand or like a type of
Yeah.
item? I mean, I'll give a few examples like that one I talked about before, the Alexander Lloyd, the bigger suits. A lot of the items that I would sell were some of the suits that nobody knew about. Three-piece suits, those were killer, and those things would even sell as like no-name brands. They were long tail, but the three-piece suits, if you guys aren't familiar with that, it's the slacks, the trousers, the actual jacket, and the vest. So there's three pieces to it. The three-piece suits did really well. Um, some of the brands that did really well for me that I noticed not a lot of people were picking in my area were Vineyard Vines. That was a really good brand. Some of the higher end Italian brands did really well for me, like the Keaton, the Zegnas, the Canales, all those. I'm probably pronouncing them wrong, but hey, that's what it is. Those did really well. Also, some of the things that did really well that I noticed not a lot of people were doing were lotting items together. So literally, you could take 3 or 4 items that were the same brand and the same size and lot them all together, and it would actually raise your bottom line and allow you to save some time as well. So instead of listing, 5 Ralph Lauren shirts, lot them all together and sell them that way. And I noticed that did really well, especially in the summertime. The short sleeve button front Ralph Lauren shirts, if you lot those things together, amazing. They do amazing every single time.
And Dustin, I would suggest that they, after the show's over or when you have free time, watch some of Steve's older videos. He goes into brands that you don't even know. He does research on brand certain clothes too. He'll do jackets. He'll do.
Absolutely. That
I think he did mittens or gloves at one time too. You're like, I gotta look for these.
man,
Yeah.
I was on a kick for a while with researching items, and I was getting into some weird things, some really weird things. But it's fun. I mean, that's the cool thing about reselling and eBay and different things like that. You could get into so many different things, right? You can go into clothing or electronics or hats or mittens and belts and ties. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's just a matter of figuring out what you like and what's profitable, right?
Uh, okay. Alan Smith asked if you dabble in shoes.
Yeah, so I have messed with shoes. Again, I'm no expert when it comes to it, but I've sold the Allen Edmonds. I've sold a lot of the kind of hiking stuff, the Morels, however you pronounce them, a few other brands. But I mean, I like shoes because they're profitable. They are. They can bring in some good cash for you, especially some of like the dress shoes and whatnot. But yeah, if someone's looking to get into reselling, shoes is a really cool way to get into it. And again, back to Autumn's Upscale Resale. I know she does a lot of shoes. I'm not sure if she still does. She had actually advanced from clothing into shoes, and I know she was doing both at the time. But very profitable, up there with like blazers and suits and sport coats.
Okay. Howard asks if you could only pick one clothing item. What is your favorite clothing item to buy? Not one-offs. Something that you can find occasionally. Find his is CC Wilson wool shirt.
Hey, Cool Toads, I think your mic is coming in with a lot of static.
It could be.
I'm having a hard time hearing it because when you muted it a few minutes ago, I was able to hear really well.
All right.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Chris, when you speak.
Here, hold on.
Howard,
Perfect. It's like
yeah.
it's like the blue sea. Relaxing.
Howard asked if you could only pick one clothing item. What is your favorite clothing item to find? Not one-offs. Something that you can find occasionally. His is CC Wilson wool shirt. Yeah.
That's a really good question right there. Man, I love sticking the suits and the blazers and sport coats just because it's a higher profit margin, and you don't have to be wasting your time selling things for 15, 20, 25 bucks. I'd say something that I find often, and they're definitely out there, is the Gildo Yegna and sport coats. Any Italians there is definitely area as well, with the suits and stuff, because most of them aren't counterfeited, unlike a lot of the polo shirts and button fronts. But there's a lot of good brands out there for the suits and stuff. Even Ralph Lauren stuff, really common stuff, can do really, really well with that particular area of things. So I'd say that's definitely that was one of my staples when I was hitting clothing, was the suit area, just because a lot of people are intimidated too. There's a lot less competition when it comes to those types of items. You know, I've found that a lot more people who are maybe getting started with clothing or have been doing it for a while, they're more inclined to be messing with the polo shirts and the button fronts and, you know, the shorts and the pants and stuff like that. So that alone, just less competition and higher profits, is probably the biggest reason for being over there.
Okay. One of my other questions I have here, and I'm gonna preface this one with a that we don't normally ask these type of questions on this show.
There's gonna be some trouble coming on here, huh?
No, it's just you advise somebody seeing a tax accountant before they start the business, or how far into the business would you want to see a tax accountant, especially if you get a split in clothing like you did before you.
Yeah, sure. So obviously I'm not an accountant. Luckily, my father is a certified public accountant, which helped me out a ton. I mean, the thing is, again, you guys got to do your own research. I'm not, a professional or anything like that, but there's different benefits to having an accountant. First and foremost is they can guide you in terms of how to pay your taxes. One thing I know is if you make a lot of money and you show a lot of profit, you're going to have to give back a lot of money to them. So one thing that's benefited me to working with my father and having an accountant is working out my sales tax and my federal taxes quarterly. So instead of me having to pay a big chunk of money at the end of the year, we kind of take a look at the income as the quarters go on, so we could figure out what to pay. And at the end of the year, you can actually estimate what you're going to make and set up your quarterly tax. 3 months to pay and pay tax and an S for my business. So that's going to help you out a lot as well. Also, having an accountant or a CPA, I mean, it's going to help you to not overpay, and it's going to help you to not underpay your taxes as well. But I mean, it's, they specialize in what we don't know. They've gone to school for this. They're around it all the time. Get it as soon as you possibly can, seriously, because it's someone on your team, and if you're doing this seriously and you're making good money, I mean, the $400 or $500 it's going to cost you per session or per year, or how often you use them, I don't know. Luckily, I don't have to pay for one, so my numbers are like, who knows, just pulling them out of thin air. But yeah, I definitely recommend getting one as soon as possible, and you might even want to consider getting an LLC too to protect yourself.
Got anything in the comments before I go on to my next question? If you can hear me. Okay, I think there's no, but he's shaking his head. No.
I love how he's doing. We got the sign language going on now. We got one.
Oh, Texas Scout Treasures, what is your favorite find that you kept?
Favorite find that I kept? My whole wardrobe is freaking thrift store clothes. I mean, that's really tough.
When you your old apartment before you got the condo, you had one jacket that you always kept wearing every time you were on doing a video. You're like, I know.
Oh yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, that is one of my favorite ones. So it's a Patagonia puffer jacket. I love Patagonia. It's like one of my favorite brands of like all time. So I mean, I wear that all the time, and I rock out with that like it's going out of fashion. Another one of my favorite finds, and I've got multiple ones, is some of the bicycles that I've kept. I've got a Trek mountain bike that I ride all the time. I've got a Cannondale road bike. I've got a few other ones in my garage. So I mean, the bikes and that jacket, man, definitely something that I really like.
All right. if there's nothing else in the comments, as a new seller, and not all of you did this before when through talking to your dad, would you suggest they get a doing business as, or just do it as a seller as an individual until they know they're making a consistent sale to have a business pay for a business license?
I mean, it depends. I mean, it's not really that expensive to get a business license. I think in Connecticut it's $125, and then you've got to pay a yearly fee for having it. So I mean, it's up to you. I mean, honestly, you're gonna have to take that risk. I mean, the cool thing about being or having an LLC, again, I don't know all the jargon and verbiage and all that stuff. I'm just talking from what I know. The cool thing about having an LLC is you can protect yourself if someone comes after you. Instead of them coming after your personal assets, they're actually come after the company's assets as well. So you've got to take a look at yourself. Do you have a house? Do you have a family? Do you have a lot of money in the bank, or what do you have for assets, right? But again, I mean, I would honestly consult somebody, watch some YouTube videos for lawyers and stuff like that, and get a feel for it. It's really up to you. But I went for a while without, I was just doing business on my own name for the longest time. So nothing bad happened to me, but not to say that something bad couldn't happen to you. It's just a risk.
Well, I know when I went to New York, I had paid, I think it was $50 for doing business as. And when I came out here and I started researching it, I think it said something like $500.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to differ based on where you live, so.
Yeah, because they had counted.
If you're new and you're strapped for cash.
State, it's like, I'm not even seeing what you wanted.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Anybody new in the comments, John?
Nope.
Okay.
Yep.
What is the best source for questions such as measurements and styles and such?
I don't understand what your question. What do you mean by that?
Like, besides YouTube and you and like your programs and stuff, are there any other good sources for that you may have used in the past?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different sources. In today's day of age, I'd say probably one of the best free sources you can go after is the Facebook groups, and there's so many. There's too many to list. Just type in keywords into the Facebook search, like eBay, selling on eBay, selling clothing on eBay. I mean, there's so many Facebook groups. So I'd say get into one, and add value to people. Don't just go into these groups just trying to suck off information from them and get and take and take and take. Give back and help people however you can, even if it's just for support, and build relationships with these folks in there, and you're going to learn and you're going to notice that there's so much more willing to give back to you. But you can learn so much in these Facebook groups. It's ridiculous. There's a lot of free ones, there's paid ones, there's a bunch of different ones out there, but just find one community that you can really harness and get close with. But that's probably the best way.
With that answer, I'll say that I'll give myself a little plug here. I have a
okay.
Well, I put the links in the description already for the Reseller Society, which most of our viewers are already part of. I have the National Resellers Advice for Amazon and eBay, and I also started a group beginning of last month, and I'm still trying to build it up. It's a selling group for everybody that likes to try posting their sale groups stuff in the when you're trying to get help and you shouldn't want to make making sales. It's USA for sale $10 or more. I believe that's how I titled it. But I only got like 26 people already still in it, so it's still brand new.
Shout out Dirt and Rust is in the chat.
Hey, Dirt and Rust, welcome to the show. Okay, I think you've kind of already answered this question earlier, but would you consider closing a fast nickel or a very long dime?
I always went with like the slow, high profit approach, more of the long tail type of thing. That's what I found most profitable. Again, it's gonna depend just based on the brand, the style, for suits and stuff like that, and blazer sports coats. It's gonna be more of the slow weight. To get that high dollar amount, I don't really want to flip them fast just for a little profit, just because they're bigger items and usually they cost more to invest in. But for other items, I'm willing to flip them fast. Like for example, that Ralph Lauren example I gave you with the lots, like the lot of 5 or 6 of the short sleeve button fronts. Those I might flip just because I can get them in a lot. I can usually get them cheap. They have colors for the Goodwill, and every Sunday they flip a different color down to $1 each, and I could scoop these things up for $1 and lot them together. And imagine having a lot of 5 for $5. You're in it, and you get rid of it for $40. Or you could wait an extra month and get 60, or wait an extra 3 months to get 60. I'm just giving a random example. I'd rather just flip it fast, especially considering it's seasonal, some of these items. So, I mean, it's going to differ. But overall, I'd say the waiting game for the high profit.
Well, let's see. By my calculation, we got about 23 more minutes left in the show. I want to thank Steve again for giving an hour and a half of his time, and we've been trying to get this together for, I think, since I started the show.
Yep, it's been a little while, but we're making it happen. So, having a good time right here.
And if you have any more last-minute questions that you want to get into, Steve, please get them in. Sean will definitely get them to me.
Bring them in.
And, okay, let's see. What, do you give in your fashion advice? So, like, color matching in your listings?
Yeah, I give you some fashion advice, man. You got to put on a nice little dress shirt, man. Pop your collar up a little bit. No,
well, I'm talking about in your listings. Like you can say this goes.
No, I'm just messing with you. Not really fashion advice. I mean, I try to describe the items accurately and really portray it in a light that they're gonna want to see it in. I mean, the best fashion advice I give. I mean, I spend a lot of the time trying to take good pictures. Multiple angles and really depict what they're going to get, but not really any fashion advice. So,
and well, in that regards, going back to my suit that I told you about, the ones that I shouldn't say the wife took pictures.
Yep.
With she did the suit jacket, a nice dress shirt, and a tie off on a hanger. So that way,
No.
we don't have a room for a mannequin yet, but we're trying to work on that.
Yeah, man, you definitely want to get a mannequin, a dress for a mannequin for the suits, man, because I can't say it enough, especially with the more formal items, the higher end items. You're really going after a different customer, and it's really important to make it look professional. It's hard to make it look professional on a hanger. It is. It's tough.
Well, okay. Anything in the comments, Sean? Nope. Okay.
Nope. Sorry. Nope. Nothing.
Let's see. I'm kind of going to jump around a bit, Steve.
Yeah, sure.
You're covering a lot of the questions I already had, so.
Yeah, no worries, man.
How would a new reseller follow trends, given they're always changing for a store?
The best way would probably be, again, to be in those sold listings, be in the completed listings, be reviewing how your sales have been going, right? Look back and take a look in your store and ask yourself what brands are moving, what brands are not moving, and just keep your eyes open, right? Don't just go on autopilot. It's the thing about eBay and clothing, and this is one of the reasons why I've moved on to other things. Not to say that I've abandoned it forever, because I have a ton of inventory and I've got some plans coming back to get things moving again. But the thing is, with clothing in particular in eBay, it's very active. It's not passive at all. You can't just do it once and just leave it alone. Like, you've literally got to constantly be educating yourself and, working and pushing forward, or else you're not going to be making any money. So just keep your eyes open. Don't go into autopilot and think you know it all and things are going to be perfect and things are just going to be working well, because with anything, eBay, publishing, YouTube, it doesn't matter. You can have a Facebook group. Regardless, whatever you're doing in life right now, if you think things are going to be the same the next day and the next day and a month down the road, you're out of your mind. You're crazy. Things are changing so fast. Look at the companies that are, the leaders, the companies like Apple, or even like the McDonald's, or the big companies out there that are really thriving. They're innovating, they're changing, they're switching things up, they're trying new things. If you think the same thing that you're doing today is going to be working 2 years down the road, you're going to be out of business. So the point is, keep your eyes open. Don't just become complacent. Don't just say to yourself, I know it all, and everything's going to be the same. Nothing's going to be the same. There's only a few guarantees in life. And you know what one of them is. We're all going to die. We're going to have to pay our taxes, and things are going to change. Nothing stays the same. So, just don't become complacent. Keep your eyes open. What did our redneck picker say? Keep your head on a swivel?
Yep. I used to watch him too.
Yeah, exactly.
Dirt and Rust has do Ed Hardy jeans sell well?
Ed Hardy's always been a brand that it's been like hit or miss, right? They used to do really well based on, I had talking to some people that were veteran sellers, and they said that Ed Hardy used to sell really, really well, and then the market kind of got wiped out. I've always avoided it unless it's something like super, like just like flamboyant, or like just screams at you, like it's just really, really weird and odd, which they do have a lot of that stuff in that brand. But to answer your question, do the shorts sell? They sell. Some of them, it's like hit or miss with that brand. Like, some do really well, some do really crappy. Just be careful with that brand.
Oh, I see that Wes is in the chat. Thanks to John telling me. And Jordan Witt asks, any advice on vintage suits? Does ugly sell?
Yeah, some of them do sell. Again, it's going to differ just based on the brand and the design, the pattern. A lot of the old, like, vintage sport coats and stuff, they don't even have a brand on them, some of them. But if they look really weird and unique, they'll sell. So again, it's going to differ. Spend time in the sold listings. I can't say it enough, especially with clothing.
And Phoenix Picker Janet asks, what are the best shoes to flip? Well, I don't think you really got too deep into shoes, but I know at least Clark's is supposed to be a good brand. I only sold one pair, but that's the only thing I got.
My favorite always was Allen Edmonds. They always sold well. If they were in good condition, those things would sell super fast and for crazy profits. I'm going to go with Allen Edmonds. Brooks Brothers dress shoes always did really well too. Hard to find, though, for me.
Okay, let's see. Now, this question, I don't know if you have a knowledge in this, but is it possible to organize a store for better viewing on eBay?
Yeah, I've never really gotten big into the customization of a store. There's people out there who do know a lot more about that. You can organize your store into categories, which I highly recommend, and you can make it easier for the customer to be able to navigate. That's as much as I really did. But yeah, there's a lot of videos talking about that. It's going to be tough for me to add value in that area for you, but there's ways you can customize it. Get in there and start messing around with it a little bit. But definitely add categories so people can search, and don't have men's and women's mixed up and all these things. Make it easy so someone could just kind of float through your store instead of like battling to get through it.
Oh, we're getting a rush of questions from the viewers now. Karen Petrovich asks, what are your top 5 items you just can't pass up, you always buy when you come across them?
Man, that's tough. Just to name a few, like I said, the big clothing items. Like especially the suits and stuff, and the if you could find them anywhere over size 50, I'm gonna be pouncing on it all day long. Bicycles, I love bicycles, the 10 speeds, the vintage stuff, the Cannondales, the Treks, stuff like that. I love the Pendletons. I love the Filsons. The vintage wool stuff always does well. I love the Italian stuff, right? The higher end Italian stuff like Kiton, Kiton. I can't pronounce these brands correctly. Some of the more expensive stuff always seems to do well, but there's so many different items out there. One of my favorite items that I love flipping, and every once in a while I could snipe them off of Craigslist, and I found a few of them at the thrift store, is the blenders and juicers. So like the Breville juicers do really well, the Omega juicer, the Vitamixes, if you could find them, the vintage ones. You're usually not going to find the newer ones, but like the stainless steel ones, I flipped a ton of those things in the past. Video games, right? Like holy crap! If you could come across the Mario games or the old the Zelda games or the systems or the N64 stuff or even the PS1 games, I mean, pop on those things all day long. I mean, new in the box stuff with Amazon, I mean, literally you just pull out your phone and you get the Amazon seller app, and bada bing, bada boom, you see what it's worth, you send it in. You can't beat it. The new in the box stuff is huge. School books, right? You get the engineering books or the medical books or the stuff that costs students $200. Oh my gosh, the prices are going up and up on these school books for the kids. They're willing to pay 50, 60, 70 bucks for a used book now. So those are definitely some items that I definitely don't pass up if I come across them.
And we have a question here from Dustin Saunders again. Raiken, do you do international shipping on all your clothing?
Yes, but I never opted into the global shipping program. I always did it on my own, which did have a few problems here or there, but it's good to avoid certain countries like Brazil. I've always had problems with. I don't ship to them anymore. Italy, Russia. Those are a few off the top, but yeah, definitely. You're opening yourself up to a bigger market, and a lot of times these folks that are overseas are even willing to pay top dollar for your items or even more, or they won't even waste your time with the best offer because they can't get it where they live. I had a friend who lived in Brazil. He would literally buy things over here, bring it over there, and sell it for a profit, and different countries as well. So you got to remember, some of these international folks, they can't get it where they live, so they've got to come to you.
Certain Rust asks, can you speak of Craigslist sniping? What's that? I don't.
Yeah. So you get a big gun. No. It's called a bazooka. No. So pretty much what sniping is going onto Craigslist and finding undervalued items to buy and eventually sell for a profit, either on eBay or back on Craigslist. So for example, what I used to do is I used to do a few things. When I first got started, I would spend 4 or 5 hours a day just stalking Craigslist, just refreshing, looking for the newest bicycle that was posted on Craigslist. And I was looking for something that was undervalued, something that was maybe within my range that I can negotiate down to and get a good deal on. And right when that thing came up, you had to be within the first 30 minutes of that listing coming up or else you weren't going to get it. I had a lot of competition in my area. But I would see it come up. I'd give them a call. I'd say, hey, I want to check out the bicycle. Let me come down. I would do some negotiation on the phone to see if we had a potential deal based on how far I had to drive. There was times I drove an hour, even an hour and a half to pick up a bike that was profitable.
Wow.
But there's one time specifically I drove all the way to the other side of Connecticut, which was a little over an hour drive, to pick up a vintage Cannondale bicycle, and I paid $100 and ended up flipping it for $550 on eBay. that whole thing ended up turning into a mess because the bike got damaged and stuff, so it kind of ended in a crappy way. But yeah, it's just sniping on Craigslist, finding something undervalued and flipping it on a different platform. Nowadays, I'd recommend using a website called ifttt.com. If I don't know what it stands for, but it's ifttt.com. If this, then that, it's called. And pretty much what you can do is you can create recipes and you can create different things to occur if something happens. So, for example, you could create a recipe that says anytime the word Cannondale comes up on Craigslist, then it will send me an email. So you could actually target different things on Craigslist without having to stalk it all the time. So say you're looking for Cannondale bicycles, you're looking for Vitamix blenders, you're looking for Pendleton blankets. Type these things into your recipe into this ifttt.com website, and when that keyword pops up on the actual website, it will send you an email or send you a text. You can create different recipes and stuff like that, and that could really help you to stay ahead of the curve and the competition to find those, you know, one-off items that are profitable and snipe them out.
How do we thinking there? Another question from Dustin Sodders. What items or brands are not available overseas in general?
I mean, probably a lot of them. I don't live overseas, so I'm not really sure. But a lot of them, I'm sure, right? I mean, I don't know specific ones, but I know I sell a ton of Pendletons overseas. And I know I don't know if they still do, but those are made in the United States. So I'm probably going to want to focus on the ones that are made just in the USA. So, I mean, but just do some research. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can't get in different countries.
Okay.
I'm sure some people in the comments could add some ones that they know of.
Okay, and we have about 8 more minutes. I think that if there's no more questions, if there's anything that you want to plug or anything, this will be a good time.
No, man, I don't really have anything to plug. I just want to come on and, you know, have some fun and stuff. If you guys want to, you know, learn more about me, you can go over to my YouTube channel at Raiken Profit, Raiken Profit, Profit. Just type that into YouTube. I got over 500 videos ranging from, you know, YouTube videos, how to start a YouTube channel, to eBay, to Amazon, to Craigslist, to publishing, to CreateSpace, to products. I mean, just a whole wide array of different things. So you can find more about me over there. I do have a website as well, RaikenProfit.com. So there's some blog postings and different things on there. But that's pretty much it, man. If you guys want to connect, just find me, Facebook, Raiken Profit, and, you know, definitely could, you know, communicate with one another and help each other out.
And I will say this as a, what's the word I'm looking for? A public announcement. If you see one of anybody's videos that you're watching on another person's channel, let them know in case that person steals a video. I know for a fact one of Steve's videos that he got permission from Bonafide Hustler to put on his channel, plus one of my shows were stolen on a different channel that was monetized. And I don't monetize my stuff. So
yeah, it happens. I mean, there's people out there who will start up these fake channels and they'll download something that allows you to download the YouTube videos and then they'll host it on their account. But you know, those I don't worry about them too much because eventually YouTube's going to catch on and ban their channel. So it is what it is.
yeah, well, when I'm not making any money off my own videos and somebody else wants to, that's what bothers me. It's a different thing if I'm monetizing it. You know,
Yeah, it's unethical. I know. It doesn't make you look good.
let's see. Anything else in the chat, Sean, or any new people to shout out? Since you're not getting to talk too much
Nothing
tonight,
else. Nope, nothing else in there.
you have anything to say?
Come join the Frog Pond on Facebook. Yep. Search for it. Frog Pond. Or Cool Toe Pad. Either one.
I'll end this one with one last question. I'll find the right window. Already got that one. Oh, you already kind of answered this one, but maybe what's the? I reword it. It's about the length of time a listing should be up. How? I know you said 6 months is what you've done. What's the longest you've actually considered keeping a listing on eBay? More than a year?
Yeah, I mean, I've had items over a year. The smart thing to do is to probably blow them out, and just you could either lower the fixed price, because I do a lot of fixed price listings. You could lower the price down until it sells. Sometimes it just won't sell. I mean, I've had times where I've had $100 item, brought it down to $10, it still doesn't sell, and that's why I'm like so seriously like I seriously believe that eBay hides your listings after a certain period of time. I think their algorithm does something to kind of weed out the things that aren't selling. Um, but you could also turn your fixed listings into, you could put them back into an auction again and run them from, start them off at $9.99 if you have to, just to get rid of it as well. Because I also do believe that the more items you sell in your store, the more the eBay algorithm takes you in and says, oh, okay, Chris Walking Picker, he's selling stuff. He's got a good sell-through rate. I feel the more your sell-through rate increases, the more they show your listings to people. Because at the end of the day, how does eBay make their money? They make it by you selling your items, and then they take a profit. If you're a seller on eBay and your items aren't selling and aren't moving, then what incentive do they have of showing your items high in the search engine, right? Because you're proven not to sell your items. So the more you could get your items to sell, I feel like, and this is just a theory, this is like bro science right here. It's like the more that I sell items, like I've noticed if I sell 10 or 15 items within a few days, the next few weeks is like hot. But I notice if I'm like pricing things super high and they're not moving and things aren't moving, they don't sell. So I do think that eBay's algorithm takes into consideration how often you're selling. So if you got to blow things out, that's one thing that I feel like I've made as a big mistake over my reselling clothing career, is not blowing things out when I should have, because I think that by just holding on to this old dead stock, it's not selling, it's not moving, and you're showing eBay, listen, I'm a seller who holds on to stuff and doesn't let it go, and they want people who are willing to keep things moving because that's how they make their money. So again, just theory, but I've noticed that if you keep your items moving, that you're going to be so much more profitable.
Uh, I want to thank everybody for watching, and I want to thank Steve again for being on. I know
For sure. Thank you.
my viewer track, we hit 40 viewers at the max tonight. So we've been slowly climbing up back to where we were when we first started. Hopefully we can get back there, but I'm happy with 40 viewers as well. So, and without that, next Sunday, tentatively, we have CSA pickers on again. And then the first Sunday of June, we are having Golden Finger Picker, and I believe Kim is the cleaner, both at the same time for that week. I'm going to try something different at least once a month starting next month. So, and if you like this video, please hit that like button. I don't know how many likes we've hit so far, but I don't usually ask, but I hope we gave you all the information that you could use tonight. And with all that said, we will see you next week.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for having me on.